balancing my college life and being at home and having to manage finances in the home. So looking after my own well-being whilst doing all those things at the same time was definitely challenging. I wouldn't say there was a specific point, but probably mostly towards my exams, having the pressure of exams and then going back home and having to face what I have to face at home.
And where could you look for more help if you needed it?
So it was more friends and family at the time, but because we're a very close-knit family, it was very hard to like step out and actually speak to someone about it. So a lot of the things that happened, I kept it to myself for a long period of time before actually speaking about it. And that wasn't until I graduated from university.
Mm. And you mentioned the managing of finances.
Yeah.
How challenging was that at times?
It wasn't so bad because we all like a bit of money, but it was just,
Yes, we do.
It was making sure that it was being paid at the right time and it was the right amount without forgetting that if it's not paid within a certain time, then obviously there'll be fees and fines that I might have to pay. So making sure, and sometimes you forget as a young person because that's not your responsibility. So a lot of the times there were times I'll forget and then have to like call up and make sure that there's an extension and I can make sure that it's paid within that agreed limit of time.
Because I mean, these are challenges that most contemporaries of yours at that time would not have been facing at all, would they?
No, so most of my friends around the time of college are thinking about university, thinking about going partying, the clothes they're wearing to college. But for me, there was always that other level of me being overwhelmed by looking after a family member, especially one that has paranoid schizophrenia, which is different from anxiety and depression or even bipolar disorder.
And what do you think you had to give up in that time that you might otherwise have done?
I think it was more getting close to friends. So I thought I had friends at the time. I guess that time you're still trying to figure out who your real friends are. And for me, it was how do I open up to people who might not necessarily accept what I'm about to tell them. And also thinking about the rejection that I might receive as a result of opening up about my family home life.
Despite those challenges, as you indicated a moment ago, you went on to university, didn't you? And what was happening at that point in terms of the caring responsibilities that you presumably still had?
So it wasn't so much because I was away, so I lived away from home. And then in my final year, my first term was at university. At home, sorry. So that's when it became difficult. So it was more of like I could run away from it when I was at university. When I was back home, I was like, it was in my face. I couldn't physically get my work done because of the responsibilities I had. And looking after someone's well-being is far more challenging than looking after my own well-being, which is hard for anybody.
And there's also, presumably, those moments when you did walk away, you know, it's still in your mind, isn't it? You're still worrying.
I used to always push it at the back of my mind, but then I would always be thinking about it at the same time. So in lectures, I would probably be like daydreaming and thinking about what's going on at home rather than focusing on my studies.
And what about now in terms of not only, as you and I are talking, you're reflecting on that period of time, but some of the things that you've done now to try and raise the awareness of this issue? What sort of things have you done?
So I started a social enterprise called Mental Health the Arts, which is basically a creative arts academy to help people and young people between the ages of 13 to 25 with lived experience of mental health to express themselves through the creative arts. So through my tough times, my way of expressing myself was through dance. And leaving university and having to care for a family member, I wanted to put the two passions together. I became very passionate about mental health. And so raising awareness is I'm sharing my story of being a carer, showing and telling young people how they get support, but also using what they already have, so their gifts and talents, and actually creating creative coping mechanisms for themselves.
And having set it up, how much interest has there been from those young people you're targeting?
So there's actually been a lot. I've been running it since 2016, so there've been a lot of people that are interested. I think because I work full-time as well, it's actually how do I find time to manage both, or do I quit my job and work on this full-time, because it is necessary and needed at this time.
So it could be getting to the point where that's a serious decision for you. Turn this into a full-time exercise. And in terms of the numbers, I mean, we've heard this report today that more than 1/5 of children, of teenage age children, are involved in some sort of caring. Does that surprise you?
It doesn't at all. A lot of the time, young people like myself would hide this side of their life because they don't want people to feel, they don't want to be mollycoddled, that's the first thing. And also they don't want people to feel sorry for them. So people will definitely hide it. I'm not surprised at all, because I know, for example, in my culture, something like this, you would not dare to speak about it. It's just something that you have to do, and that you're built to do. So knowing that there's so many young people and children that are facing this, it's not a surprise. I think it's about time that we took action and put carers at the forefront of some of these issues and funding, because we need the help.